All right, now that we are ready to talk about our second unit, I do want to um, back up just for a little bit, and really what we are going to be talking about today is the supporting standards for your 7th grade work, and that is I can solve problems involving percents, or I can solve percent word problems. This is a skill from 6th grade that you need to make sure that we need to make sure that you have before starting with the 7th grade. What is new in 7th grade is when talking about percents, you may have less than 1%, so you're going to have a fractional percent, or you can have more than 100%. And 6th grade focuses from 1 to 100%. So let's back up for a second and let's talk about percents. Um, what we normally do is an activity, and so what I'm going to try to do is I'm going to draw a bar, okay, and I need you to visualize this bar as 100% of something, okay? So let's say that that number is $10. Let's keep it simple. Let's say that this number is $10. All right. So if this bar was shaded completely, it'd be $10. If it had no shade, it would be $0. Now, from here, the 2% that you should be able to tell me is first, if it's 100%, okay, this is 100% of the bar, and then this is 0% of the bar. All right. From next, I think I'm going to do is half of 10. Half is something we can do mental math with. Half of 10, this looks like half. May not be perfect, but it looks like half. Half of $10 is $5. Now, percentage-wise, what is $5 in comparison to 10? Because remember, this whole thing is 10. This is only part of it. So the part is 50%. Okay? Now we can go even further. We could say, well, we could break this up into segments. What if I said this is $1? Okay. What percent of $1 in comparison to $10? What percent would this be? Hopefully you understand this to be 10%. And then from here it'd be 20%. What dollar amount is 20%? Hopefully you said 2. 30%. What dollar amount? Hopefully you said $3. 40%. Pause the video. Tell me, what dollar amount is 40% of 10? Okay, hopefully you said $4. Okay, what I'm really trying to get you all to understand is part versus whole. The whole is $10. That's the whole bar. Part is a percentage of the whole. Okay? Next, if I said $6. What percent of 10 is 6? What percent? Hopefully you said 60%. Let's say that I jump up here and do $9. What percent of 10 is 9? Hopefully you said 90%. If somebody owed you $10, that's the whole debt. They've paid you 9 so far. They've paid off 90% of their debt. They still owe you 10%. 8 is 80%. And then $7 is what percent? Pause the video and answer the question. Okay, hopefully you said 70%. Okay, now the purpose of this conversation, again, the whole amount is $10. These are all parts of the whole, and these all are percentages of the whole. Okay, there are 2% formulas that you need to know and you need to write down. So what I want you to do is look at this percent equation first, or percent formula. Part over whole is equal to percent over 100. So for this particular equation, we are going to talk about in relationship to our bar. 10 is the whole thing, so it would go here. If I ask you what 40% of 10 would be, you would replace it with the percent. The part is the missing piece. This is your variable. So what I want you to do is I want you to pause the video. I want you to take a sheet of paper. I want you to copy these two formulas down. I want you to copy them large. I don't want you to write them small. And I want you to take this piece of paper and I want you to put it somewhere. If you prefer, you can do it as a Google Doc. I don't mind, but put this equation somewhere that you are going to see it and you're going to be able to access it easily. Simply because these two equations is going to be something you are going to use almost every lesson for this unit. Pause the video, write these down. Alright, now today's lesson is going to focus mostly on this equation. This one is going to be more for the next couple of lessons, but this one is going to focus here with part over whole is equal to percent over 100. I want to go to this again, and I want us to look at this together, and I'm going to try to talk to you about how do we know, based off of what we learned from last time, that this is proportionate, or that our answers are actually correct. So if I'm looking at this problem, the first thing that I want us to do is pay attention to this table. Alright, so the amount based on $10, because remember $10 was our whole, that was the entire bar, that was everything we were focused on. So we can put $10 here. Okay, now from here we did it in increments of $1, so $9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. And then we have a 0. Okay? So what we want to do next is we want to talk about what percent of the $10 these values are. Okay? Now, we already discussed $10 is 100% of itself. Okay? $9 is 90%. $8 is 80%. 7 is 70. 6 is 60. Pause the video. Tell me what percent of $5 is, what percent of $5 is 10? Okay, hopefully you said 50%. $4 would be 40% of 10. $3 is 30% of 10. $2 is 20% of 10. $1 is 10% of 10. Now, pause the video and tell me, what do you think $0 is? What percent is $0 of 10? Hopefully you said 0%. Okay? Now, next, let's graph these. So what we have learned is here we have the percents as our x-axis. The percent of 10 is our y-axis. So we have x and y. We have ordered pairs here, 0, 0. So that is our origin. Next is 10, 1. So over 10, up 1. The next one is 22. So over 20, up 2. 33. Over 30, up 3. 40 and 4 is over 40, up 4. 50 and 5, over 50, up 5. 60 and 6, over 60, up 6. 70 and 7, over 70, up 7. 80 and 8, over 80, up 8. 90 and 9, so over 90, up 9. 110. So we're going to go over 100, up 10. Now looking at this graph, if I was to connect these, would it be proportional? Yes or no? Pause the video and answer the question. Alright, hopefully you said yes, it is proportional because you have a straight line and it travels through the origin. Let's look at one of these questions here. The total amount is 200, so this bar represents $200. So put that on top. Okay, now this other extreme is $0. Now from here, you should be able to fill some things out. 200 represents 100% of the bar. $0 is 0%. The number we can think of, hopefully easily, is 50%. What is 50% of 200? Hopefully you said $100. Okay. Now, from here, let's talk about other things. We could break it up into 10% as we did prior to this problem. So what if I said 10%? What is 10% of 200? Hopefully you told me it's $20. Okay. From here, what if I wanted to know 20%? Well, if 10% is 20, you can double it, make it $40. Okay? 30%. 30%, you can say, well, 10 is 20 and 20 is 40, so if I add the 10 and 20, it's going to give me 60. 40%. 40%, well, 20% is $40. If I double $40, it'll give me 80, and that's 40. So with this, it's just you being able to manipulate these numbers, understanding what they actually mean. Some students are maybe sitting there thinking, I'm struggling, I don't know, I'm not following along. And that's simply because you haven't developed your understanding of what numbers actually mean. You may have just simply went through the motions and solving problems but had no idea what you were actually doing. Students that are thinking, sitting there thinking, I hope this isn't all we're doing. It isn't. This is just trying to get you thinking about percentages and numbers and what they actually mean. What we're going to do now is we're actually going to jump to the word problems, and this is going to be the focus of the lesson, and we're going to be using cubes in our words problems as well as our percent equation that I had you write down. So you might want to go ahead and get this back out. Hopefully you didn't put it up that quickly, but if it is in a Google Doc, you should be able to split your screen, and from there hopefully you can see both. I want to look at this question together. So this question says, when a grizzly bear hibernates, its heart rate drops to 10 beats per minute, which is 20% of its normal value. What is a grizzly bear's normal heart rate when it is not hibernating? Look at your numbers, think about the question. With cubes, you want to circle your numbers, okay? 20%. 10 beats per minute. Okay? Now, let's underline our question. What is a grizzly bear's normal heart rate when it is not hibernating? All right? Now, I had you write down part over whole equals percent over 100. This 100 is a constant, meaning it will always be 100. So I'm going to start this by saying line equals line. I want to go ahead and put my 100 because what we're doing is we are setting up a proportion, all right, and that ties directly to what we did the last unit. From here, the easiest thing that I tell people to do is look for the percent. Do you have something with a percent? Okay, so in this case, we do. It's 20%. So when you have a number with a percent and it relates to your question, we know it's going to go above the 100. So I'm going to put the 20. Now the percent sign drops away. I'm just going to put the 20. Next, 10 beats per minute. Now 10 beats per minute is when it is hibernating. It is not its normal or its whole heart rate. So we would consider that to be part, because when it's hibernating, it isn't at its complete function. It is at part of its function. Okay? So with the part, we would consider that to be the 10. Now, for this particular problem, our missing value is the whole. Okay? Now, once we made it to this point, you should be good. You should know how to solve this at this point based off of last unit's study. All right? So you should went ahead and thought, well, we would need to do cross products, or you can do scale factor. Either one is fine. I'm going to look at cross products first. So I'm going to do x times 20, which is going to be 20x. I'm going to do 10 times 100, which is going to be 1,000. Right? You should hopefully thought, well, the 20 is trying to multiply the x, so I'm going to divide both sides by 20. And then I'm left, 20 divided by 20 is 1, so I put that as x is equal to 1,000 divided by 20 is going to be 50. Now, what does that mean? You need to think about what does your number actually mean. Go back to your question. If we're asking you what does your answer mean in context of the problem, go back to your question. What is a grizzly bear's normal heart rate when it is not hibernating? 50. So it would be a grizzly bear's normal heart rate is 50 beats per minute when it is not hibernating. Once we've set up the proportion, if you did it a different way, let's say that you set it up and you got 10 over x is equal to 20 over 100, okay? And you're thinking, well, 10 times 2 gives me 20. So what number times 2 gives me 100? And many of you would know, hopefully, that it's 50 times 2 is 100. It doesn't matter to us how you solve these problems. We are never going to say you have to use cross products or you have to use scale factor. But for the students that understand percentages, this is a much easier way of doing the problem. But either way is fine. It makes no difference to us, like we said. In our solar system, 6 of the 8 planets have moons. What percent of the planets have moons? All right, now let's think about it for a second. We are going to first circle all of our numbers. I'm going to just say 6 of the 8. And then you're going to underline your question. What percent of the planets have moons? Now, remember, we have part over whole equals percent over 100. What I like to do is I like to go ahead, start your problem, line equals line. I'm going to go ahead and put the 100 in because I automatically know that that's going to be there. Next, I look for percents. Did we have any percent in our problem? No, we didn't. So we automatically know that that's where my variable is going to be. I'm going to put a P here. Next, we have 6 and 8. Part. Which of these two numbers do you think is the part? The part of the planets is 6. The whole, or the universe, in considering planets, is 8. Okay? Now, from here, we should be good. So, I'm going to walk you through this one, and then the next one, we'll set it up, and I'll have you to solve it. So from here, what I want us to do is you should do cross products. 8 times P. Now, 8 times P is simply 8P. And then I'm going to do 6 times 100, and that is going to be 600. From here, you need to get P by itself, so we are going to divide both sides by 8. This is like a one-step equation that you learned in 6th grade. 8 divided by 8 is 1, so we would say these cancel. Leaves you P equals 600 divided by 8 is 75. Okay? Now, what does our question mean? Our question is related to what percent of the planets have moons. We got 75. So we need to say 75% of the planets in our solar system have moons. Okay, that's what it means. While waiting for a video game to download, you noticed that 30% of the 32,000 kilobytes have been downloaded so far. How many kilobytes have been downloaded so far? Okay, so again, remember, cubes, this is how we are teaching you to do this. I know you can't circle, but you can highlight. So I'm going to do 30%, 32,000. You can really, or should, circle kilobytes with that. Underline your question. How many kilobytes have been downloaded so far? Okay, now we're going to go back to part over whole. Equals percent over 100. Remember, I told you that I like to start these by saying 1 equals 1. I put the 100 here. Now, next I look for the percent. We have a percent, so I know that this percent goes on top of the 100. Now it's just the number, okay? Just the number for right now. Alright, so it says, while waiting on a video game to download, you notice that 30% of 32,000 kilobytes have been downloaded. So it's 30% of 32,000. So the 32,000 is the part or the whole? It is the whole. Now, with this one, you actually may have thought of 32,000. Kind of goes along with this equation. Of goes in the denominator. However, if you didn't, you could have also went to your question and said, how many kilobytes have been downloaded so far? Well, that's the part. You're trying to figure out how many kilobytes or the part that's been downloaded. Okay? Now, once you have set this up, I want you to pause the video. I want you to solve it. All right, so now what I want to do is I want to do cross products is what I'm going to do. I got 3,200 times 30. That is going to be 960,000. Then I have K times 100, and that's going to be 100K. Next, what I'm going to do is I'm going to divide both the denominator and the numerator by 100. 100 divided by 100 is K. And then 960,000 divided by 100 is 9,600. All right. Again, what does it mean? What does it mean, 9,600? Go to your question. 9,600 kilobytes have been downloaded so far. So 9,600 kilobytes have been downloaded so far. Okay. Miss Banks asks her class what kind of party they want to have. Out of all of the students, 5 want an ice cream party, 7 want a movie party, 10 want a costume party, and the rest are undecided. If 20% want an ice cream party, how many students are in the class? So this is a very good question about giving you too much information. All right, so let's use cubes. 5 want an ice cream party. 7 want a movie party. 10 want a costume party. Underline your question. If 20% want an ice cream party, how many students are in the class? Very good question. So let's refocus on part over whole equals percent over 100. Now, I highly recommend you write this simply because you will have it memorized by the end of the unit if you write it. Let's move on. Remember, line equals line. That's how I start these. I start them by going ahead and put in the 100 in its place because I know that it will always be there. Next, I look for percent. If 20% want an ice cream party, all right, so I'm going to know that the 20% goes on top of the 100. Now this is the part that you need to really pay attention in your question. If 20% want an ice cream party, how many students are in the class? So which of these numbers, the 5, the 7, or the 10, am I going to really care about? Hopefully you said the 5. Where would it go now? Hopefully you said the part. Okay, we're trying to figure out how many kids are in the class, so that is the whole. All right, moving on. Let's do C times 20. C times 20 is 27. C. Then I'm going to do 5 times 100, and that's going to be 500. And from 500, the next thing I want to do is divide both sides by 20. 20 divided by 20 is 1. So it leaves you with C equals, and 500 divided by 20 is 25. Now, what does it mean? It means Miss Banks has 25 students in her class. Okay? There are 25 students in Miss K's class. In the class election, 4 students voted for Ben, and 12 students voted for Aaron, and 9 students voted for Liam. What percentage of the class voted for Ben? Right, let's go through and let's use cubes. We have 25 students in the class. We have 4 students voted for Ben, 12 students voted for Aaron, 9 students voted for Liam. Okay. Again, we're going to focus on part over whole equals percent over 100. I start off by line equals line. I put my 100 there because it will always be there. Next, do I have a percentage to place here? That's what I look for first every time. No, there is no percent, so I know that I'm going to make that my variable. Next is I'm going to look for part and whole. Well, what percentage of the class voted for Ben? That's my question. So what number should I be focused on? Hopefully you said the 4. Where does the 4 go? The 4 is the part, so it's going to go on top. The whole is the whole amount of the class, which is 25. Okay. Next, I'm going to do 25 times x, and that's going to be 25x. And then I'm going to do 4 times 100, which is 400. The next thing I want to do is divide both sides by 25. 25 divided by 25 is 1. 400 divided by 25 is 16. Now, what does it mean? It means that 16% of the class voted for Ben. Okay? Now, what percent of the class voted for Aaron? Pause the video and answer the question. Alright, so we're still going to use the part over whole equals percent over 100. This time we're talking about Aaron. Remember, line equals line. I'm going to go ahead and put my 100. I'm looking for the percentage, so I'm going to call that Y. Next, there are still 25 kids in the class. That's going to be the whole. So I'm going to put 25 here. And then for the part, I am going to do how many votes Aaron received, which is 12. Okay, so from here, I'm going to do 25 times y, which is 25y. 12 times 100, which is 1200. Then I'm going to divide both by 25. 25 divided by 25 is 1. And 1200 divided by 25 is 48. Now what does that mean? That means 48% of the class voted for Aaron. Okay, good. Landon is eating 50-gram chocolate bar, which contains 30% cocoa. How many grams of cocoa are in the chocolate bar? Now, we can go through, we can use cubes. 50 grams, 30%. How many grams cocoa are in the chocolate bar? Pause the video and answer the question. Alright, hopefully you started off with line equals line. You said 100. You saw that you had a percent, so it's going to go above it. You saw 50 is the total candy bar. That's the whole candy bar. So that's 50 grams, and your job is to figure out the part. Okay? From here, we did cross products. 50 times 30, which is going to be 1500. C times 100, which is 100C. Divide both by 100. The 100s go away. C is equal to 15. What does this mean? Go to your question. There are 15 grams of cocoa in the bar. Okay? Alright. The Louisville Zoo has 15 emperor penguins. The emperor penguins make up 30% of the overall penguins at the zoo. How many penguins live at the zoo? So we have 15 emperor penguins. They make 30% of the overall penguins at the zoo. How many penguins live at the zoo? Pause the video and answer the question. Alright, so from here, what you want to do, start off line equals line. Go ahead and put your 100. You have a percent, so it goes above the 100. 15 penguins. Is that part of the penguins, or is that the whole amount of penguins? Hopefully you said it was the part. And then we're trying to figure out, I want to put a P for penguin. how many do they have? So we're going to do cross products. Well, you could do cross products. We've been doing that. What if I did scale factor? What times 15 is 30? It's 2. What number times 2 is 100? Hopefully you said 50. So P is equal to 50. Again, what does that mean in context of your problem? There are 50 penguins at the Louisville Zoo. Okay. A spider ate 25% more bugs this month than last month. The spider ate 8 bugs last month. How many bugs did the spider eat this month? Pause the video and answer the question. Alright, let's look at it. We have 25% more bugs. The spider ate 8 bugs last month. How many bugs did the spider eat this month? Alright, so remember, we're still sticking with that part over whole equals percent over 100 equation. Go ahead and put in my 100. I have a percent, it's 25. I have the 8. Now, the spider ate 8 bugs last month. Is that part of what he ate, or was that the whole thing? And in fact, it's the whole thing. Okay, so here is my proportion. I'm going to use cross products. I have 8 times 25, and 8 times 25 is 200. I have S times 100, which is 100S. Okay, then I'm going to divide both sides by 100. The 100 divided by 100 cancel, they equal 1. Leaves you with S is equal, 200 divided by 100 is 2. Now, let's talk about what this means. How many bugs did the spider eat this month? Our answer isn't 2. Okay? Because it ate 25% more. So it ate 2 more bugs than it did last month. So if I take the 8 bugs that it ate last month plus 25% more, which is the 2, equals 10. Okay, so the spider ate 10 bugs this month. This is a very tricky question, but you had to pay attention to this idea of 25% more. So we had to add it to it. Tyler had a goal of finishing painting. Tyler had a goal of finishing painting at least 80% of the 500 square feet of a house's walls today. He actually finished painting 415 square feet today. Did Tyler meet his goal? Pause the video and answer the question. Alright, let's go through and use cubes. We have 80%. 500 square feet, you could circle it if you wanted to. He actually finished 515. Okay. Did Tyler meet his goal? So in order for us to determine whether or not he met his goal, we need to figure out what the amount he actually did was. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and put in my 100. Do I have a percent? I do. So I have 80%. This one you could have done differently, but than what I'm going to do. But for me, the 500 is how much the house is, 500 square feet. And so it would represent the whole house. So it would go here. Now for the 415, I'm going to leave that out because that's his goal. I want to know, or that's what he actually did. His goal is 80%. So I want to figure out, did he meet his goal? All right. So I'm going to make this my missing value. Do my cross products. 500 times 80, which is 40,000. And x times 100, which is 100x, equals 100. I'm going to divide. 100 divided by 100 is 1. Leaves me x equals, so I have 400. Now, sorry for anyone can see. So we have 400, okay? That's his goal, because that's what we calculated. He wanted to do 80% of the 500 square feet, and that ends up being 400 square feet. He actually painted 415. Did he meet his goal? Yes. Tyler did meet his goal. Alright, last one. Kim's pumpkin had a mass of 6.5 kilograms before she carved it. After carving it, the pumpkin had a mass of 3.9 kilograms. What percent of the mass of the pumpkin remains? Alright, pause the video, answer the question. Alright, so we've got 6.5 kilograms. We have 3.9 kilograms. What percent of the pumpkin remains? So we're going to start off with line equals line. We know that the 100 should go here. Do I have a percent? I do not. Therefore, you should know that's where your variable is going to go. 6.5 is that the part or the whole pumpkin? That's the whole pumpkin. 3.9 is going to be the part. Okay, now what I want to do next is cross products. So I'm going to do 6.5 times P, which is 6.5P. 3.9 times 100, which is 390. Next, I want to divide by 6 5/10 on both sides. The 6 5/10 for 1 here. P is equal 390 divided by 6 5/10. Let me use my calculator. Gives me 60. Alright, what does it mean? What context of the problem, what does the 60 mean? Well, it's percent. So 60% of the pumpkin's mass remains. Alright. So, for today's lesson, you needed to be able to use this equation, this formula, to set it up and to solve it. The solving part you should have been able to do before you got here. But setting it up part, hopefully you were able to do that. For those students who are struggling, please do not hesitate to reach out to Ms. Banks or myself, and we can help you. In addition, for those students that are doing well, and you may have a friend that isn't doing so well, please be willing to help that friend, whether it be with Google Meets or over the phone or email. Guys, have a great day, and I will hopefully see you in class.